Next on the agenda is the death of Prince Philip. That's a big deal here in the United Kingdom. The country is in a state of national and official mourning. This is like the highest level death in the royal family since Diana, and it's kind of polarizing people a lot because obviously there's like a lot of people in the United Kingdom, although that's not something that people want to hear about because it's not cute, but there's a lot of people who are actual Republicans here in the sense that they're against the monarchy and they don't want the royal family to be the figurehead of the government, and they don't think it's cute and they don't like it at all. And there's also people who love the monarchy and they feel like it's part of who they are and it's part of their national identity and they couldn't live without the queen, etc., etc., etc. So there's these two types of people. I think it's clear that I'm not a monarchist and I don't think the monarchy is cute. I think there's a lot of problems with it, and I'm going to go over some of those now. But I just want to address the Prince Philip situation. And in an unlikely move, I would like to actually defend him a little bit. Just a little bit. In terms of the things that people are saying about him on Twitter, and just like in general people are saying about him. There's some of the things that people are saying about Prince Philip that are simply incorrect, and it kind of deflects from the overall critique of the man and the institution, because I don't think it's that significant what kind of a person he was. What's significant is what these people represent in the royal family. It's kind of, all these things are beyond them. They're just figureheads in a system of meaning and symbolism that is really, really part of the British fantasy, and that Britain sells to the world, and is profoundly wrong, because these people are billionaires. They're extremely rich, and they didn't get rich by working. They got rich because they're descended from monarchs and oppressors of the people. This money belongs to the people, and that's where it should go, not to Prince Philip or Prince Harry or whoever. It's not their money. That's number one. Number two, Prince Philip was 99 years old when he died, and he was famous in the United Kingdom, known to everyone. The thing that he was famous for was that he was that embarrassing grandfather / uncle, whatever. He was the racist uncle. And he knew he was racist and was kind of performatively racist on purpose, like in a jokey kind of dad, like silent generation dad way, I guess. King of the boomers kind of way. Like, he was just extremely offensive to pretty much anyone he ever met. Like, he was offensive about everyone. And he was not, like, the kind of person that you want to take with you to a party, because you know he's going to say something really horrible. And some of his choice quotations include, "You managed not to get eaten," when he was suggesting to a student in 1998 who had been trekking in Papua New Guinea that tribes there were still cannibals. He also, in 2002, said to a successful Aborigine entrepreneur, "Do you still throw spears at each other?" Stuff like that. A lot of people think that when Philip was saying things like that he kind of like meant it, like he truly believed that. That's not really the case, at least in my opinion. I'm not an expert on the royal family. I don't care. But I don't think he was. Like, let's give this man some credit. Like, he was on purpose being disobedient and kind of like a naughty boy in relation to, I don't know, maybe like it was like some like subconscious thing that he wanted to like show the queen that, even though he's the house husband, he can still be naughty sometimes. He was just one of those people. You know exactly who I'm talking about. And that doesn't excuse the behavior, but I don't think that he truly wondered if people were throwing spears at each other. I think he like clearly thought that he was being like subversive and funny. Clearly not funny to everyone. And every time he said something like this, the press would like go into a frenzy over it. So I think he also did it for the attention and just to play with people, whatever it was. And just to be fair to Prince Philip, he did play both sides. He said a lot of offensive things about Madonna's singing, just like petty things about like insignificant things. He insulted women, pretty much everyone. Okay, so here's a good one. This is like him speaking to Obama in 2010, and he said after hearing Obama had breakfast with leaders of the UK, China, and Russia, Prince Philip said, "How can you tell the difference between them?" That's funny. That's funny. He told a child that he was too fat. It's just like on and on and on. You get the gist. Do I excuse this kind of behavior? No. He knew what he was doing. He did it on purpose. This is someone, you can say that he's like old school, born in like the 1920s of the 20th century. But still, he was able to change with the times. He is the thing that he's really famous for in the royal family is being the innovator, the guy who kept the royal family kind of abreast of technological and social change. So like he knew what was going on in the world. He knew what was appropriate and what was not appropriate. And he just decided that part of his legacy was going to be the racist uncle at dinner. And that's how he's being remembered. But I think, at the same time, I think a lot of the kind of things that people are saying about him are I think we're being too mean. This is not about celebrating someone's death. This is about remembering someone for who they were. He was a very offensive fellow. He was just an offensive person. I'm not here to like praise. Like there's like people, it's like all over, like everywhere is like talking about Prince Philip now in the UK, and they're like, oh, he headed 800 charities and he did this for the children. Yeah, come on, like he has so much money, like he's got to put it somewhere. I'm sure he gets like a tax refund from it. Like he can afford to, like what else is he gonna do? That they're supposed to be doing this, that's his job. Like it's ridiculous, like these people saying, and he's such a philanthropist. He had no choice in the matter. Like what else was he gonna do? I don't think he like achieved any greatness. He literally did nothing other than run the royal family, which is completely surplus to requirements anyway and needs to be reformed immediately as far as I'm concerned. But at the same time, I'm not comfortable with some of the things that I'm seeing and that I was seeing in the past too, of like people like putting up pictures of him when he was like closer to his passing, or pictures from the past 2 years where he didn't look very good. He looked kind of ill. People saying, calling him a vegetable, or saying like that he's already died and he's just like decomposing, things like that. That's not cool. Like critique his words and critique his attitude. And I'm like, as I said, like I am not like a royal family fan. Critique like what he stands for and critique the institution. Don't critique a man who lived through World War II on his appearance in 2021 when he's 99. That's like, I'm not cool with that. It makes me really uncomfortable. It's not okay. Critique his actions. Don't critique his age or the way he looks. I wouldn't want someone to say that about me. I wouldn't want someone to say that about someone I know, and no matter what they did. Anyway, it's not classy. I don't like it. I just wanted to say that. I'm not one of those people here. I'm not trying to get into this like Prince Philip and anti-Prince Philip debate. However, there is one thing I want to say in terms of Prince Philip and what people, another thing that's like really kind of one thing that people keep saying about him, which is incorrect, misleading, and makes us sound dumb. And trust me, I used to be one of those people because I wanted to make that generalization because it's lazy, but it's like on point and it looks good and whatever. And this generalization is that Prince Philip was a Nazi. He was not a Nazi. Here's how this works. And this is like a very European thing. And it's like, I get why people are confused, but let me just like explain. Prince Philip came from a broken family. He in theory was a prince in Greece, but his family had been driven out of Greece in fear for their life, so they had to flee to France. And that's where he lived with his father, but he also traveled a lot because his mother had been institutionalized with mental health issues. There was a whole other tragedy, and he kind of got like fobbed off on like different people in the family. This was like the 1930s, okay? He was a young child, and two of his sisters married into German aristocratic families. They're aristocrats. They're all inbreeding. They need to marry someone who's aristocratic. Two of his sisters married German people, and these German people, whether they wanted to or not, as the aristocracy, they were kind of implicated in the regime of the time, which is Nazis. I don't know to what extent, like, his sisters loved Nazis or didn't love Nazis. It doesn't really matter, because that's kind of not the point. But there's this picture of Prince Philip attending a funeral when he's young, which I believe is a funeral of his sister, but I need to fact check this. Again, it doesn't matter whose funeral it is. His sister died tragically in a plane crash in the 30s. This is Nazi Germany, and these are aristocrats, so it's like a big deal. And all these Nazis organized a funeral for this person, and I believe Goering was even there. Like, you know, all these like top officials were there to pay tribute to their aristocracy, because they're Nazis. And Prince Philip is there, marching with these Nazis because he's there for a family member's funeral. I don't know what his beliefs were at the time. We'll probably never know. It's just, it's a part of history. There's like, this is the thing about Europe. We're also close to this. There's only like so many degrees of generational separation from the reality that in the 1930s, if you went to Germany, you would be pictured with a German making a Nazi salute, like whatever it was, right? So I think it's unfair to call him a Nazi just because he was pictured and just because his sisters were in these German aristocratic families. Whatever, his sister could have been like numero uno for Hitler. I don't care. Like, that has no bearing on him. And this was an unconventional family situation at the time. He didn't live with his sisters. His sisters were much older than him, so he was kind of left alone when they moved out to marry. And Prince Philip was eventually raised by a British aristocrat, Lord Mountbatten, and sent to a school in Scotland, and he was socialized as a fully British citizen, because that was part of his heritage. And when he grew up, he went and fought in World War II too. So he fought against the Nazis. He fought the Nazis. He didn't like Nazis, and he is one of many, many people at the time who made that contribution to European society. So on this point, I just wanted to make this clear because it's bothering me. And I used to say that because, like, you know, I used to make this generalization because I thought it was like cool to make it, whatever. But it's actually not cool, because there's like a legacy. World War II legacy in Europe is super, it's not what it feels like in other places. Like, it's very real. It's in proximity to people. It's not just a living memory, because it is for many people, but it's like there, like on the streets, like it's in the cobbled stones, you know? And this is not a joke. Yeah, like, he did all the comedy racism, whatever, but the truth is that when it came to it, he was on the right side of history. And how many people today can say that they definitely would be too? That they would go and fight and risk their life for a cause? I don't know. Like, you know, this is like a matter of conscience for all of us. But when things got bad, we know for a fact that Prince Philip did fight the Nazis. And a lot of people in Europe did. And a lot of the racist grandmas and grandpas and uncles in Europe today are still racist in ways that are backwards, that they don't understand why they're racist, saying the things that Philip was saying. But it's the kind of racism that was okay back then. And I don't want to end up like being the apologetic person for this, but like, there is a measure of people in Europe that is missing in some other countries where, like, this person will fight for your right to be free, will fight for your right not to be killed by a Nazi. They might say, like, really offensive things about whatever, like spears and stuff, or I'm sure Prince Philip would have said really offensive things to me because I'm an outsider, I'm Slavic, I'm oh my god, I can only imagine the things he would have said to me. But at the end of the day, I know that he would have fought for my right to be free if the Nazis, like, really did come to kill me and other people and put us in camps. Like, I don't want to get too much into it, but I think it's not a free pass. And I'm not saying, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to say, like, oh, like, it's your uncle, it's okay. I'm not saying that either. And Prince Philip, of all people, knew the difference and he should have known better, and he shouldn't have said those things. And he said them on purpose because he wanted to like piss people off, basically. That's how he wanted to be remembered, because he had nothing better to do. But at the same time, let's call things what they are and let's be specific about things, because there are people still alive today, like Prince Philip, who remember the war. It's a very important war in Europe. It really changed human relations around the world. It changed the way, definitely, that European critical theory looks at things, which in turn really has inspired a lot of the left movement, politically, culturally, in terms of organizing. The theory that comes out of Europe after 1945 is really the kind of theory that most lefties are working on today. So, and it came out of that time, of that zeitgeist, because it was people writing about how horrified they are what happened and how it can never happen again. So let's just go easy on the World War II people. It doesn't mean they've earned the right to be racist, but I think, like, calling them a Nazi is insulting to the memory of the people who fought Nazis, and that doesn't make the royal family okay. They still need to be abolished. He was still, like, not a very useful member of society. And I think, like, to be fair to Philip, he felt that too. He was bothered by that. That's why he used to misbehave so much. He was a very offensive man. He should never have been wheeled out into public. And it should tell you something about the Queen. Like, if you're one of those people who are, like, watching The Crown and are like, oh, they're so cute, whatever. This woman was married to him for, like, 70 years and, like, still laughing at his jokes 70 years on. So she clearly thought he was funny. She clearly thought that what he was saying was acceptable. Does that not tell you something about the Queen? It's like people have this, like, lack of imagination in assessing the situation and the royal family. And there's been a lot of talk about whether the royal family is racist or not because of the Meghan Markle interview and stuff like that. Well, I mean, is the Pope Catholic? Is he? I'm not saying that necessarily, like, William harbors some, like, horrible racist views. I'm sure as an individual he doesn't. But, like, the whole institution is based and entrenched and within these discourses of racism, difference, domination, the wealth, everything. Like, the jewels in the Queen's crown. India asked for them back. Like, you know what I mean? But did they give them back? No. This is all pilfered from the countries that the United Kingdom Empire invaded and subjugated over the hundreds of years that it was doing this colonial business. So yeah, the Pope is still Catholic, and the royal family institution is racist. Newsflash. And yeah, just to be clear, like, Prince Philip and the Queen were cousins. They had the same great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria. Pretty much everyone who's a royal, like, within the realm of Europe is kind of related through Victoria. They were cousins. Oh, like, everything, like, that should be bothering people. The idea that, like, they're individually evil is just not true. Prince Philip was not evil. He was kind of horrible, but not that important. What's important is the institution. What it represents, how it functions, and how it constantly keeps on, like, it's like this, it's literal opium for the people. Like, oh, dressed in the Queen wear. Oh, we're British. We love the Queen. She's been oppressing you, not her personally, but what she represents. Oppresses and works against you. In conclusion, Prince Philip, not a Nazi. Stop saying it, please, because it's insulting to the victims and the people who fought in World War II and the people who were on the right side of history. Was he a terrible person? Yes, he was. Not a Nazi, though. Not the same thing.